You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast with Ryan Uffens, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild. Whether you're an aspiring hunter or an adventurer seeking the untamed, together we'll explore the strategies and stories that lead to success in the great outdoors.
Well, folks, we've got the Hunt Stealth crew together once again. We're here at the Hunt Expo. We've had a good couple days, and it's fun. You know, it's been hard for us to get everybody together with everyone kind of being scattered, but we've had a good time so far. What about you guys? You guys feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. It's been great.
Been great.
Yeah,
good.
I'd say, it's nice to network, and actually, I'm not typically a social person, but when you're passionate about hunting, you kind of
come out of your shell a little bit,
and you just start, you get fired up, and then you meet more and more people, and then they introduce you to more and more people. It's been fun to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to kind of see that hunting community share their network and introduce you to people and a lot of the different things, just experiences that they've had that they share is pretty cool. It's a tight community for sure,
and they're very easy to talk to as well. If you just want to introduce yourself to them, they'll just start chatting your ear off. So.
Well, it's weird how big the industry is, and it's still continuing to get big. But then it's also small too, because I know that person, and I've even run into people on the mountain before. You're we've connected on social media or something before, or you've seen them out there or something. Yeah. So it's just kind of crazy. It's still growing industry, but it's big, but it's a small world.
What's been your guys' favorite part so far?
I don't know. What do you think?
Probably just.
Well, here we can edit. I'll edit this out. Speak up a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know. My favorite part, I think, is I'd say this. I've been coming to this for years, and there's years that I actually haven't been in a few years. My favorite part this year is I had more of a mindset of networking. So getting to know people with different brands a little bit better, the
kind of breaking out of your shell a little bit.
Breaking out of my shell, yeah. I mean, networking for Hunt Stealth, has really helped me. And so then I'm starting to understand the different brands out there better, and what different companies are trying to do. And there's Born Primitive, and now you got Black Flag now, and we know the people over at Mountain Ops, and then people that we're running into like Aaron Albiston.
Yeah.
And then Ashton and whatnot. I didn't even know he was going to be here.
Yeah.
But and it was just cool. He came back yesterday just to meet me because we'd built such a big rapport.
Oh, that's cool.
Over the years, and we hunt the same area, and so we've always just been kind of friends. And then he was like, we talked an hour of hunting, just random hunting.
We're gonna have him on an episode mid-March. He's gone. He leaves Monday for the week, and then I leave the following week, and so we're going to try and connect sometime after that and get him to come on, and I think it'd be fun to do a podcast with him. And that's the thing is we love talking to everybody. I mean, we love the big names in this sport, but we also just love hearing from everyday people. It's the post that I put out today, the story I put out today. I'm if you're here at the Hunt Expo and you've got a story that you want to share, share it with us. And if you're listening to this and you have a fun experience or a lesson learned that you think could help other people that are getting into hunting be a better hunter, hit us up, send them some message on Instagram, and let's connect and hear about that.
Yeah, the feedback I'm getting when we're talking to people is they're kind of looking for that campfire talk when you're at hunt camp and whatnot, and they're like, yeah, I've been looking for a podcast like that. And also the other thing is there's a bunch of other people that are actually getting into podcasting too. So I think there's a lot of growth and opportunity here. And it was kind of cool talking to Ashton yesterday. He's like, we've probably pushed out to each other for a decade. So
you guys have probably been chasing each other thinking that you're an elk.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're probably hearing their calls, going to them, they're going to us.
Then you bump in, it's hey, what are you doing here? Oh, I was chasing the bull. Oh, yeah. You guys were calling each other in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's funny, we were talking to, God, I can't remember, I was talking to, I think it was Trevor.
Trevor Farnes.
No. Trevor Thompson over at PSC Outdoors. And he was saying that he was out there with his dad one time, and he had called in another hunter. He sees them creeping through the woods, and they're looking around the timbers trying to find where the bull is. And Anyway, it's fun. You get to hear a ton of fun stories, especially for someone like me who's new to that. I'm going like, that's going to be me. Like some dude's going to call me in, and I'll be like, "There's a bull over there."
Yeah. No, it happens. Me and Quinn, when we first started hunting, we've called in other hunters before, but you learn to recognize the way that they what a hunter sounds like, and then what a real bugle sounds like, because it's different.
I've tried bugle, and as a matter of fact, they've got like the elk calling competition. I think it starts at like 4, so we'll have to go ahead and check it out. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I mean, I know, if you're listening to the podcast, you're going to see it, but if you go watch the show on YouTube, we've got some video. I mean, this thing is like deep. As far back as it goes that direction, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people. Like it goes just as far back the other way, and it's the same thing.
I get turned around and lost in here. The networking and the companies out here are crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing you make it off the mountain every year.
Still working on
get turned around.
I need my mountain GPS in here.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Hey, Quinn.
Your Garmin.
Yeah. What about you? What's been like? Have you? Has there been a product that you've seen? Has there been some? You talked like what's been like your favorite experience or thing that you've kind of come across here?
Well, I mean, I've come to this multiple times the last 10 years. I think it's the coolest thing is seeing how much it's expanded. The past even 4 years ago. I mean, we're opening up new sections of this conference room just to fit more companies, and it's cool to be a part of that and try to network and be start growing the Hunt Stealth just brand itself.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of new businesses that we've come across, like Muley Maniacs, right?
Yeah.
Their tripods that they make. I mean, the guy's over there. He's like, well, why should somebody buy one of your tripods? And he just like jumps on it, and he's like hanging on it. I mean, he's probably like 170, 80 pounds. Stieg, sorry if I'm putting you a few more pounds on you than what you are, but I mean, you're a good sized guy, right? Like, and hanging on that, I didn't dare do it. I'm like, 230 pounds is going to bring this thing to the ground.
He was up there doing pull-ups.
Would have been a good test.
Yeah, and then JD, is it Primal Precision?
Pursuit.
Yeah.
Primal Pursuit. Yeah. I mean, talking about him and his new target that he's developed that has like a lifetime warranty on it. It's fun learning about these new businesses that are out here on top of like all the other big names. Like you've got All In, who's really like made a splash in the market, and they've got some incredible products. You got sheep feed. I can't wait. My I think my shipment was just, I got a notification that my shipment was delivered. So I did the old like foot scan on the iPhone thing. It was like super simple, and I think when I was pulling up, it was like I got a notification that said, "Hey, your package has been delivered." So I'll tell you what, I could have used those on Thursday. I did 10 miles walking around this place, talking to people, networking.
Steps in.
That's it?
That's it. That's it. Just 10. How many did you get?
Just a couple more than that.
Probably a few more. Yeah, you always do a little bit more than me.
He's got less strides.
Yeah, the past day, just being here, like walking around. Yeah, it would have been nice to have had those, but I don't know if I can. I may have to order like 6 different pairs so I can fit them in each different pair of my cowboy boots that I wear.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Jax, what about you?
Well, it's just crazy to see all the new innovative products, all the stuff that you see you can use out on the mountain, but beyond that, just the networking, talking to people, hearing stories, seeing what people do differently. You learn from so many different people, and it's just been fun.
What's really cool to see, Quinn, do you remember when I can't remember how many years ago it was, but Scree Gear? Remember when you were like, you got to check out Scree Gear, this camel, and they were like this little corner in the back of this place, and we just walked by them earlier today, and they're like,
they got a huge section.
Just like one of the biggest places here, and it's just really cool to see the success of companies, and this industry grow. It's really an awesome network, and everybody gets along, and everybody's so nice. I just feel in place. I feel like I'm in my spot with my people.
In your zone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, it's been a great experience. For us, it's been fun to see because like I'm not the gear guy, and I know in the hunting space there's a lot of like gear guys. Like I know Jaxon really gets into it. I know you two really get into the gear.
I think it's more.
I'm
Quinn.
like,
Quinn's a little bit more.
I've done
of a
a
gear
lot
junkie.
of the research of the gear for sure.
yeah.
If you want to talk to me, I know
He just
what
listens
gear
to
to
me.
splurge on, and I do just listen to Quinn. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like we were talking after Jaxon left. What was it? Was it Valentine's Day yesterday? Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Jaxon, it's his first Valentine's together with his wife, with them as a newlywed couple. So for whatever reason, he felt it important to leave a little bit early.
You got to get your priorities straight in the future.
Yeah, you've got to set expectations now.
You got to
So
train your
listen to
wife.
this.
Next year we're gonna
And
get a
next
booth.
Yeah, next
We're
year we'll
gonna be
have a
selling
booth.
some serious swag.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. But like anyway, Jaxon had left, and Dustin looked at me, and we were sitting there for a minute, and Jaxon decided to get up and run away. He's about to get the heat right here. But no, but Dustin looked at me, and he's like, "Your boy has expensive taste." And Jaxon.
You get what you pay for, though.
Yeah.
Jaxon gets a lot of that from his Grandpa Jerry, because they both like nice things. Like if you're gonna get something, like they like to get the very best.
In the long run, it actually saves you more money if you're like buying.
Yeah, you don't have to constantly replace it.
I learned that the hard way in hunting. I bought $150 boots from Cabela's one time. Nothing wrong with Cabela's, but my toes were black and blue. But we went to some rugged stuff. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Down, we call it 270 and whatnot. Deadfall everywhere. I ended up splurging on Crispies like $400 or $500 between there, and that was the best investment I ever made.
Just a game changer.
It is
It's just
game
comfortable. You
changer.
can walk around for miles and not feel a thing. So
Well, boots are very essential. You need to be able to walk around wherever, whenever, for as long as you need to.
100%.
Bows, on the other hand, when I first got started, I got the top of the line bow.
Yeah,
That hasn't helped me out very
typical
much.
Jaxon.
I have a buddy in Texas that wants to come up and hunt Utah, and I actually work with him. And he's like, "What gear do I need? What camo do I need to blend in and this and that?" And
Just
he's
get some
asking me all these
solids.
questions, and I was like, you know what? I don't really like.
So you're texting me.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Like, we could talk about camo and all this and the backpacks and that kind of stuff, but I was like, if you're going to spend money on something, you got to get boots first and foremost, especially where we go. It's insane.
Yeah.
Do the boots and then start worrying about like how you look.
That's the one thing that I
Focus
think.
on
You gotta
gear
look good
versus
too, right?
Gadgets.
Yeah, we've talked. We've talked to so many people, but guys that have been hunting like their entire lives, and they've grown up, and it's just been like passed on from generation to generation. And do you need all of the camo? I mean, I don't think you do. Like, I've personally become a huge fan of solids because then
Yeah, I love
I can
solids.
multi-use them. So
You can wear them to Valentine's dinner.
We were
can
just
wear 'em to
informed
Valentine's
primitive.
Day.
We were just informed primitive, and they have solids, and they're oh my gosh, they're good looking.
yeah,
But
yeah.
not that I don't like camo. But just, everyone's different.
But my point of where I was going with that is, if you can be comfortable on the mountain, it's like we were talking with Adam Buchanan with Black Ovis, and he's like, if you can be comfortable, like it's going to make a world of a difference in your experience out there. Because if you're going out in archery season when it's still 80, 90 degrees out, some days, if you get hot and you don't have the right layers, like the merino layers, like you'll be miserable.
Moisture-wicking stuff.
So-
You start sweating, your feet start getting sweaty, and then it makes for and your toes turn up, going black and blue because
Yeah.
they start sliding back and forth in the boots. So there's certain things that I think that you can purchase that are going to make for a good experience.
100%.
And can be comfortable. So boots would be one of them. And here's the other thing, don't buy boots and then go on the mountain. Buy the boots and wear them around, get them broken in.
Yep.
Because if you're like, wait till the last minute and buy a pair of boots and then you go straight out without there are some brands that you can buy that are pretty well broken in, but take the time and find a pair that fits, that feels good, and then wear them out. Go do some hiking in the mountains. Like if you just, go to a park, like walk
Just
around
walk your
in the
dog,
grass,
yeah.
just like walk your dog. Just get in them and wear them around and break them in. Because then when you get on the mountain, it makes life so much better. And then conversely, like as you start thinking of some, if you've been like me and you always have to go into the extended archery season, it gets a little chilly.
Yep.
Like we had a great time, like going up with you guys chasing some muleys. That was a blast. Like I learned a ton. Like you guys taught me a ton about wind, and it's like no, like we got to get up there early. So when the sun comes up, and then the winds start to change. Like we're in the right place at the right time, and we had that one little forky that came up, and it kills me because Dustin's sitting there and he's like drawn back on it, and he's like, I'm not going to shoot it. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm sorry, man. He's like, I'm not going to shoot it. And I'm like, all right, that's okay. And then he and then the deer kind of looks at us. I mean, he came right up at like 30 yards. I think he had ranged him at like 30 yards, 40 yards, maybe something like that. But anyway, I mean, and he was broadside.
It was perfect. It was a perfect
If it was
setup.
me, man, I'd have let that arrow fly, man.
Well, we've been there already. We've killed a couple of forkies.
But you know what? For some reason,
My point is, it didn't bother me. It was just the experience that I had, like being able to be there and see that and be, oh, it's possible. I mean, so that's like the second experience I've had. I've had a big game animal within like 30, 40 yards.
Well, I know that was a cool experience, and it's always fun to when that happens and you draw back. It feels good to be drawn back and have even if it's a small buck in your crosshairs, it like feels good. And I was like, I knew I wasn't going to shoot, but for some reason
He was
it
just
feels good. You're like,
Dustin was flexing. He's like, look, I could take this animal right now.
I could smoke you right now.
But you've kind of like we've talked about like the transition to where like me, it's like if I get something, like I'm gonna take it just because like I want meat in the fridge, right?
100%.
And you're kind of like, hey, I want to let an animal mature, and we waited, excuse me, and we ended up seeing like another nice buck.
It was literally minutes later.
Yeah.
That popped over the hill right in front of us.
We were like, ooh, we want that one.
I mean, big 4x4.
Yeah, and then we tried to push that one up to your brother, and it turns out that animals don't always do what you want them to do. So we kind of come out in the open, so hoping that they'll see us and that he'll push up the mountain to where your brother and Jaxon were at. And he was like, nope, came right back at us, like right straight across, just bolted and hit it up the canyon.
Yeah, and let me say, usually I wouldn't, like in archery, I usually don't push animals around, but I just felt like it was the right, I knew where my brother was, and I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I knew that area so intimately. I knew all, like, every crevice in there, and I knew where he was sitting. I was like, what if I just walk up there, it'll either come down to me if it doesn't see me, or probably bolt up over into that meadow. Where
I mean, we didn't run out like waving our arms trying to like startle them. It was just we kind of like walked out there and they saw us, and we slowly started walking towards them and seeing if we could help. I mean, that's like we were talking with Derek, right? We had him on the podcast. Polkowski, and he talked about how his dad and him, when they grow up back in New Jersey, they would go out and they would have, five guys on one side of the forest, five guys on the other, and they'd start walking towards each other, Civil War style.
Yeah.
To where they try and push them, and I started thinking that made me feel a little bit nervous, but I don't think there's anything to try if you're up there together and you want to try and take an animal.
Well,
to work together on that. I mean, again, there's pressure that you can use, and then there's just being stupid and ruin it for everybody else. And where we were at, there wasn't I don't think there's anybody else up there.
There wasn't. I mean, there can be, but most of the time, 99% of the time where we've gone to that spot, I haven't run into anybody. Knock on wood. But Quinn, we didn't tell them the story of. We went there the very last day of the hunt this past year, and we didn't tell them the details of that story. Remember that?
Yes.
We'll
tell it.
Yeah, we were. I don't know. You want to go ahead? We how many bucks did we see?
Well, we went up there.
You guys couldn't make it that day, and it was literally the last day.
It was the last day. You stayed low. I went up high to that meadow that we like to sit, and that's where your brother was at. But I got set up at the right spot there, just waiting for deer to just come through, and I think I had 2 or 3 doe come 15 yards from me. And there was a nice 4-point pushing those doe up to me, but that 4-point never did show for me.
Yeah, and
he's seen it though.
I had relayed to him.
Is it that same one that we had seen? Do you think?
This was
I
a
think
different one.
Different one.
We saw 4 bucks that day.
That dude
and
was
that's
that
pretty
one
normal.
that we saw when we tried to push your brother. He had a big.
right.
Body. I mean, even that little forky had like a good body on him.
So I was telling Quinn, like Quinn, there's some big bucks here. We've shot at some bucks up there that would put a lot of these bucks to shame. I mean, usually they're typical bucks up there, very typical, but huge and wide, and they always have pretty big eye guards. The genetics up there, which is really cool. I like the trashy bucks, but for some reason they're very wide and very typical, and thick. We've seen some big bucks up there, but usually, so where that little one came through, they're usually not right there. They're usually up in that upper meadow. And so when Quinn saw those deer come through, I actually had scoped out the buck, and I was like, Quinn, there's a buck coming up right towards you. And so you can imagine the excitement. And I was like, there's also, was it 3 does? I can't remember.
Yeah, and where we were at, we had LTE. So you were texting me. I had my watch on. I could see that he was, conversing with me.
The
and
wind was in your
I was
face?
just ready for a buck to come up, but it never
And
did.
so I was like, dude, there's a buck coming right towards you. And I was like, it's right behind those does.
Yeah.
And so he was fired up because he was like, I could have just smoked those does. It's going to come up. I literally saw that buck go and follow those does up that mountain. Mm-hmm. It stopped, and it must have smelt you or something because it went directly over the other hill. And I don't know why. Because usually I've never seen it do that unless there's a hunter like right there. But Quinn was far enough away at that time that I thought it would go up where it normally goes. It must have been a really smart buck. The wind might have changed or something. I have no idea.
Could be, but that's
it just
part of hunting, right?
decided to bail. How many times have we seen a buck and we're like, and we far away and we go up in there and they're like, we didn't see them go anywhere and they disappear.
Yeah, all the time.
That's
They're
why I
so
think-
elusive, especially the big bucks.
That's why sometimes I like I feel like hunting mule deer, especially the big bucks, are harder than getting elk. Because elk you can communicate with them. You know where they're at. They hang up. They're less skittish. Those big bucks are tough.
And there's a reason that those mule deers have those big ears too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like sonar almost that are going off. Like you watch them go back and forth. I mean, look, they're a prey animal, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, everything out there is trying to get them.
Especially a lot of cougars in that area.
Yeah, a ton of cougars up there. But yeah, we had a good time. That's fun. I mean, I'm glad you guys were able to get up there and have another good experience.
So speaking of cougars, so in that same general area and also where you guys go to hunt elk.
Yeah.
Not to tip anything off or anything, but we should go try to find cougars. Because we can. There's we with our tags right now, our fishing license, the whatever that is,
Combination.
You can
the
shoot 'em
combination license. Yeah, we
can
can
just shoot 'em
all
if you see
tag
'em.
out cougars.
Well, you
And
don't
so
even
me
need a
and-
tag. You can get as many as you want.
You can actually. It's not. There's so many cougars right now that you can get as many as you want. And I
Any
wish
time of year.
Any time of year. There's a certain process when you do. You have to have that combination license, but you have to report it or whatever.
Yeah.
But me and Quinn had a huge cougar pop in front of us a couple years ago.
Yep.
Man, you would have.
Yeah, I was just sitting there on that meadow, and I saw that there's 4 or 5 deer that just jumped out of nowhere, and I had no idea why. I mean, I was just sitting there, so I have no idea why they would just be spooked. So I just sat there for, I don't know, another 2 or 3 minutes, and I see a cougar 30 yards in front of me. I could have just smoked, and that startled me. So I was like, oh, maybe I should just pack up and leave.
It's scary.
I think another thing that would be fun to do. I mean, we should go up there, and maybe that's what we could do is talk a little bit about what our plans are for 2025.
Yeah.
Now that we've all been kind of drinking from a fire hose. I mean, Quinn's changed jobs. None of us do this for a living, this podcast, but I mean, we're all grinding, trying to build this thing up, and it's been a lot of fun, meeting people here that are fans of the show, and being able to talk them up and get to know them a little bit more, personally. That's been probably my favorite part of the show, is bumping into those people that are like, hey, we follow you, I love your podcast.
Exactly.
And that's been a ton of fun, and even talking to some more experienced hunters that have reached out, and they're going hey, listen to your show. I love that you have we had some younger guys that are new to hunting, and they share their experience. These guys are they shared some really good tips that I knew that I was taught a long time ago. But you get out there, you get doing things so long, you kind of forget. So like I take that little bit of information that we learned from the podcast and the individual that was on, and they add that back into their repertoire that's going to make them a little bit better hunter, right? Make them more efficient. And that's just hearing that, having those conversations, like that's been my favorite part, because like I've said this the last several episodes, like I look at where my hunting knowledge was when we started this podcast back in October versus where it's at now.
Yeah.
And it's night and day.
It's crazy how that works. Huh?
Yeah, it's wild. So,
yeah, just wait until I want to get you guys in on some elk. And I know a lot of people do. What is it, Cody from Wild Arrow and Aaron Albiston and us and whatnot. I mean,
we're not professional elk hunters.
We're not like on the same level as like you know Corey Jacobson and all that kind of stuff. But we have experience. But we want to get you guys into elk because it kind of opens your mind.
Yeah,
just
but we've had success calling elk in.
Yeah, we're not so many elk.
We're not professionals, but we can do it, and we can at least fool them a little bit.
Yeah, and that's been the other thing too, is like where Jaxon and I, when we've gone out, the rut hasn't started. Like it's been kind of weird. Like Utah, like the weather, we had like that super harsh winter that killed a lot of animals.
Yeah,
that
was a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago. And then it kind of rebounded, and then this last year, I mean, it was just, I mean, it was hot. When I say last year, I'm talking 2024.
Right.
Like that fall, it was so hot, no snow, no rain, like nothing to push them, like even down remotely. And where we went down, like we saw evidence that they were there, but it didn't look like anything had been there, like super recent. So I'm looking forward to getting out with you guys and being able, like, to hear the rut happen.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's been fun sitting here, like, you know, we've been doing some of these podcasts, and all of a sudden you hear some of these, like,
buglers.
Professional, like, elk buglers, like, let one rip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I couldn't imagine what it's like being out in the woods.
The crazy part about this hunt stealth thing, and so I ran into, you guys know Donnie Drake?
Yeah.
The Elk 101 and Corey Jacobson. I ran into him, and I was like, hey, Donnie, we've been in contact and whatnot. And it's kind of cool that they, like, know who we are, and like, I was telling him, I was like, man, you know, a good 10 years ago, I started listening to you guys, and I watched Corey Jacobson, and he taught me how to call elk, basically. Not in person, but like with his like training and all that kind of stuff. To the point where we started calling elk in, and it worked. I'm like, holy crap, it worked.
Well, he's really good at breaking down the steps. You know, here, put it here, place it here in your your tongue, and then blow like this, let loose, not as hard on the what do you call it, the diaphragm on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
he's got a good YouTube video on that.
I tell you where I'm going down to is somebody was telling me I need to go check out Slayer, because that sounds like it's like elk calling for dummies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No reeds are involved, but yeah, I saw their booth. I just haven't had a chance to stop. And I want to go talk to those guys, because I've watched those videos with Corey Jacobson.
And you can't process it.
And well, I can process it. It's probably just my like ADHD. Yeah, it's like my ADHD that I'm just going. I give up. Like I get into it, and I'm like, screw it. Like I'm gonna find somebody else. Like we've had plenty of people like offer to come call elk. I'm like, well, let's just do that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, and that's where it's like you get the gear junkies, right? That like want to learn how to use everything just like very precisely.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't have the like.
Well,
and maybe that makes me like a bad hunter, but I'm like, screw it. Like we've talked about. There's been like I told Jaxon, I'm like, hey, grab that JBL speaker. I'm going to download like an elk call, and you can just walk around and hold that up for me. And Jackson's like, well,
full blast.
Maybe I can learn how to elk call.
Well, let me tell you something that I kind of learned is, like with elk calling, and this is the same thing with anything in life, I think, is you don't have to perfect something before you go out and use it. And because the first bull that I ever called in, remember, like, that I pissed that bull off so bad, he came running in charging and like ready to fight.
Just on a string.
On a string. And we learned something.
You may have a talent because you've also had like a bear coming in charging.
Oh my gosh. I just attract bad stuff again. I'm just kidding. No.
Well, no, bull's a good thing. Bull's what you want.
6 points what you want, yeah.
I remember, walkie-talkieing you, and I was like, dude, I just pissed this bull. And I kept going, back and forth with him. And I told you on the radio, I was like, I'm about to see this bull face to face.
Well, you can feel that the elk was pissed off too.
Okay, that's exactly where I'm getting at, because a lot of times they'll respond back to you, and I can tell that they're going to hang up. And I don't even know how to explain how I know, but you can just hear it. And the elk we had that you got on, and like that huge 6x6, he hung up, and we were playing with him for 30 minutes, and you ended up getting 15 yards from him. And he was huge, but the bugles were different.
Yeah, they were.
And you can't explain. It's almost like you could hear. It's almost like you're actually talking to them, and you know what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And you don't understand that until you're in the field.
It's like when somebody says, Dustin, come here, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Versus Dustin, come here, and you're like, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. There's like the pissed off response, and there's like the curious response, like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And there's like, freaking, like, are you in my territory? Because I'm going to come over there, and I'm going to freaking, like, punch my antlers into your chest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So that's fine. So anyway, speaking of ADHD, we had started off saying, hey, let's talk about our plans this year. So let's kind of come full circle back to that. You guys have been given some information, and where you guys are sitting with points. You've talked about location you guys are thinking about going, and we're all going to go down together and make it a team thing. But why don't you share with the folks what you guys are kind of planning for this year? I think, Quinn, you're going down.
Yes. So according
spill the beans, baby.
Yes. Well, according to Go Hunt, right? We get 100% odds to draw a manti here. Limited entry elk in Utah. So that's what we're gonna plan on.
Yeah, with the points that we have, I think I have 11. You have 10. I don't know if they need to know that, but Trevor Thompson kind of helped us out. The guide PSC Outdoors that was on, and so he, I'd been talking to him for months about that. He wants me to keep saving to get to Boulder Mountain, but we've had our hearts set on manti for a long time, and so we think we're going to do that. And talking to Aaron Albiston yesterday,
he gave us some great advice. I learned an immense. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Aaron come back on, because you talk about a guy that understands the point system and how to play the game.
Yes. There's nobody better.
Yeah. So anyway, why don't you go ahead? Again, this is just me doing what I do, interrupting people mid-sentence.
That's great.
Manti, I do know a lot of people that have hunted manti. My friend Jordan Cisna, shout out. He'll actually help me kind of find a good spot for archery. And I know another couple other hunters that have intel in that area as well. So we're definitely going to put all of our eggs in that basket.
But one of the things that Aaron had shared, which I think is good, and I had no idea to even think about this, especially if you have a group of people that you're doing it with, is he's like, hey, don't both of you go at the same time.
Yeah.
Because if it's like a bunk year, then you've both burned your points in that unit.
Yeah, and makes sense. Yeah.
So I think you guys had decided you wanted to give it a go this year. So we're going to go. We're all going to spend time in that unit, doing research and kind of figuring it out. And again, Aaron is another one who knows that area really well, and he even offered to come out and help.
Yeah, him and he mentioned Cody from Wild Arrow.
Yeah,
both know that area.
Those guys are really awesome.
Well. And I just want to make it clear too. We can Quinn will have the any bull tag, but we'll have. He's, Aaron said get the Hunter's Choice.
Yeah.
And that's
the OTC tag.
The OTC tag.
And so we go down there, and if we bump into, he said, like a spike, and I'm still questioning him on this. I know it's hard to question Aaron.
Yeah.
But he's like, you could take a doe as well. If it's
you can.
If it's a
because it's archery, so you can.
A cow, yeah.
Not a doe, a cow.
Did I say doe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rookie mistake. But sorry, yes, a cow. But it's a specific unit. Like it can't just be any unit, right?
Yeah.
Spike
so
only unit,
in Utah, in Utah, there's you can buy an over-the-counter archery tag, but there's two different units with that over-the-counter tag. There's the spike only units, and then there's the any bull units. So where me and Quinn typically go is the any bull area. So we go, and that's where Ashton goes and whatnot. So with archery only, during the archery season, they call it an any bull tag, but it's really an any elk tag. So if you run into a cow and you want to tag out, you can actually
Just wanted to put meat in the freezer.
On that cow, and you put meat in the freezer. And so that's what Aaron was saying yesterday is he was like us three can get that any bull or get the over-the-counter tag, Hunter's Choice, and we could go to our area and show you guys where we go and take you guys out there, and then we can try to tag out whether it's a bull or a cow.
Yeah, unlike Anthony, you'll really share the pins with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
So is that OTC tag the same one that we got last year?
Yep.
100%. Yep.
So-
And we can still go the same area that you guys go. Except I learned something from Aaron yesterday. We usually just get the over-the-counter archery tag. He says get the Hunter's Choice tag, which he said is over-the-counter. And like, don't quote me on this. This is just what he told me. But that way we can go into the any bull area, and then what he was saying yesterday is we can, if nobody tags out or one person tags out, whatever tag we have left, we can go to the manti area and still use that same over-the-counter tag for either a spike or a cow.
Yeah.
So he says you can flip back and forth between the different areas with the Hunter's Choice.
Very cool.
And so that's kind of what he was hinting there.
Right on.
And I didn't know that. We usually just go to.
I didn't know that
It's
either.
hard to learn different areas. We know our area so intimately that and it's probably one of the toughest places to hunt in all the different states. That's why, the big YouTubers typically don't go into Utah. It's a tough, rugged place to hunt. But
A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on
and
animals.
steep. And
It's not
rough.
fun to hike either in that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably mostly a lot of pressure. But
Yeah, they get pushed back. I mean, back into the deep country. That if you don't have, I mean, it's like we were talking about with like Russell, right? Like these guys could go like way back into the country because they take their horses and add that to the list of expensive things that I want.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I want to get some horses.
Well, me and Quinn went the hard
I grew
route.
up with horses. Real quick story. I had a horse in high school. It was a thoroughbred. It was a race horse, but she was infertile, and she was a winner. I mean, she won, and if she wasn't infertile, like, she would have been worth a lot of money.
Dang.
She was fast. But anyway, I buy this horse, been saving up my money, and the guy's like, it's Parlett. John Parlett was the guy who had bought him and sold him to me, and he was like, hey, he's like, you can take her for what I bought her for. Like, I made my money off her racing. Like, she's infertile or nothing. Like, no one's going to take her. And so I bought her and went down, and she had never had a Western saddle on her. And anyway, I started breaking her in. Like 2 weeks after I bought her, the engine blew in my truck.
Oh, man.
And my dad goes, well, he's like, that's your truck. You got to fix it. So it sounds like you got two choices. You can either sell the horse and get your engine fixed, because that was about what I could get out of her. Would get the engine fixed. He's like, or you can start riding the horse to school. I was 16, and I thought real long and hard about riding her to school. I'm like, I wonder if I could take her up front. There's a big tree, plenty of shade. Like, I could tie her up. But anyway, maybe in a different time I could have pulled that one off. But yeah, it's fun.
Interesting. So what did you end up doing? You didn't
Well, I sold the horse. Yeah, I had to get the engine fixed, and I haven't had a horse since. But that time's coming again. Just got to get a couple other things in place, and then we'll get some horses that we can all start taking out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So what about you, like Dustin? Like, what are your plans for this year?
So my main focus, assuming we do get that tag, that would be my main focus, is be to help Quinn. Like, I'll get the over the counter tag, but I'll be honest with you, my main focus would be assuming we're gonna go with him to get that tag.
Help him
Fill that tag.
That's so nice of you.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it gets me more excited.
Well, next year you're going to draw it.
And next year.
And then my main focus will help him.
You guys are in a really good spot too, because we've never actually been to that area.
Yeah.
If you guys go to that area, like, yeah, it's probably going to be a bummer you can't get any bull this year, but you guys are going to learn the area, like, you guys are
while
probably
you're building
in a
up
really
your
good
points,
position.
Yeah.
and then
While
while
you're
the time you're ready to draw, then you'll know the area better.
So my plan would be, I'll have a tag in my pocket, in that area, and we could go up to, assuming the Hunter's Choice works out, we could go up to that area and, even hunt elk early August or mid-August
Yeah.
before we go, in September with him.
We
can do all that too. And then my other plan is I always get you have to draw on this one. It's not over the counter, but I usually try to get a buck tag to go up to where we've taken you guys to. So those would be my two main focuses. And I wish I could hunt other states, but that would probably take up my time hunting this year.
I've discovered that spouses aren't fond of their husbands using all of their vacation time on hunting.
Yes,
I know. Absolutely.
It's not the easiest thing to convince.
I know.
That's what I'm saying, Jaxon. Set expectations now.
Well, I'm trying to. I told my wife that we were going up to Idaho on the black bear hunt, and she's like, "What am I gonna do for 5 days?"
Yeah. Yep.
No,
She gets to hang out with Banks.
Yep, that's right.
And it's
Take
only
care of
5
the dog.
days. You guys are totally newlyweds. 5 days?
No, she's not worried about it, but it's just funny. 'Cause-
Truth is he's going to be the one worried about it.
Yeah.
No,
He's like, I can't be away from her for that long.
as long as I come back with something, then it'll be worth it.
Well, and that's something that's also, I mean, I give him a hard time, but I've been married 25 years. And, our family, unfortunately, we haven't done like a lot of vacations. Like early in the marriage, it was like a financial thing, like didn't have money to take the kids, go do a lot of things. And then it was like traveling for baseball, traveling for soccer. And we always had our family trip. We'd go up to our cabin at Bear Lake, and we'd always go up there for once a week. But I haven't spent a lot of time away from my wife. I mean, I've had a few business trips where I've been gone for 2-3 nights, but I've yet to take like a long extended. And I joke with Jaxon, but I mean, I love my wife and I enjoy spending time with her, and it's going to be, there hasn't been many nights in the 25 years that we've been married that her and I have been apart. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I start thinking of like, you watch the guys like on a loan, right? Like they go out there for a month or 2 months, and the thing that breaks most of the people early is
the interaction, right?
They miss, well, there's the people interaction, but it's interesting to watch them kind of reflect on their relationships with their families, their significant others, like their kids. I mean, and some people have kids that are like going through stuff. Like one guy, his wife was pregnant. I forget his name, but his wife was pregnant, like getting ready to have the baby, and he had like a great setup, had like a cabin built, like good cover, fire. He had been catching just fish nonstop, smoked it, just had like, I mean, he was stocked, and it was like maybe, I don't know, like 2 weeks into it, he's like, I gotta go see my wife.
Yeah, just mentally.
I gotta go see my kids.
Most of the time when me and Quinn hunt, it's a few days typically. I mean, five-ish days.
Or we go up for 4 hours in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
That's what's nice about the front, right?
Yeah.
You can just go back home.
Yeah, that extended.
Let me just say this: we've had people hunt with us in that same area, and we'll say, okay, we'll set aside 5 days. There's some people that don't even make it the 5 days that we know that.
You don't have to you don't have to name names. We'll talk off air.
You get home, and I get it. You get homesick.
Yeah.
It's weird because you have such mixed feelings because you're like, man, I'm in the most beautiful place in the world, and I tell people, I'm like, I could take you to like some secluded areas, like deep miles in the woods, and you'll just be, it's breathtaking. But when you're in there and you're just working and you're like tired and it's rugged, it mentally drains you, like, especially because you gotta have all of the resources in you and all that kind of stuff. You're tired. You start to get homesick, and it takes its toll. What keeps us going is passion.
There's a lot of comfort that we've become accustomed to.
100%.
Even people, I mean, there's some tough guys, tough individuals, tough gals that get out there and do it. And like I see them getting it done, but yeah, there's some creature comforts that we have become accustomed to. I was talking with one of the guys from Wild Arrow, and he had said, like, he likes the marsupial gear, vinyl harness, because when he's been out for 2 weeks and you're dirty and you're not showering, he's like, I can flip that flap open. It's got suede on the inside. So he's like, sometimes just feeling that soft, clean, comfy suede, helps him. He's like, it's weird. He's like, it's like feeling that is just. Like it's comforting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about gear and tying this all together, you remember yesterday when we ran across jet boil?
Mm-hmm.
That's if you're a gear junkie and if you guys want to be back in the backwoods and whatnot, especially if you're going to stay overnight in the backwoods and not go back to base camp, you need that jet boil because I've been with my brother and like you just want a hot meal. That jet boil is a game changer because I've been to where like I was down in the dumps and I'm like, you almost start to hallucinate.
Well, you start thinking about going to like a movie, a big bucket of popcorn.
Sometimes you're like, what am I? You've been going so long. You're like, what am I doing? Out here, you start to double guess yourself. But that jet boil, you get the
ReadyWise.
You use ReadyWise.
Yeah, ReadyWise. Yeah, go ahead.
And use that. But like my brother was out there and he was down in the dumps and I was like, we got to stop. Let's just eat dinner. And so we made that. We got our jet boil out and made dinner.
Boils in 5 minutes.
We made dinner, and he was like, I could see him perk up after that.
Bring a little life back into him.
And we were in the most beautiful spot, and then like literally we ate, we packed up, and then the elk came right out in the meadow we were at, and that was the first time he saw elk in the wilderness, and he was like, man, I didn't realize how majestic.
That got him fired up too. I remember that.
Yeah, that got him fired up. And we were in the perfect spot, but we had just barely moved seconds later. And those elk come right in front of us. They were 2 cows, but they're still majestic.
Yeah.
So, anyways, like just stuff like that, and gear, and being ready, like, and the comfort. And you were saying he felt like your buddy
the suede
was feel the suede that made him feel, kept him going.
I love my marsupial gear. Like they're just right around the corner here. Like I want to go. That's the one booth I haven't stopped at yet because every time I go by, they're just jam packed. But I want to go talk to those guys because I love their gear. Like it's slick, it's magnetic, so it's quiet. So like when you put your flap up, so it doesn't fall out. It's just they have a ton of nice features. Like they've got some great attachments. Like if you're going in the backcountry, like Jaxon and I, like we want to go up to, we're going to Idaho, going to try and get a black bear in June. Also probably going to go in September. We talked a little bit about Derek Polakowski, and he's going to take us out in Montana. So, we've got some options for us to go out, get a couple black bears, Idaho, Montana. And then obviously, like, I'm getting an elk this year. Like, I've just decided, like, I'm going to will it into existence. I'm getting an elk. Want to go out and, like, we're going to get a mule deer. Like, we're going to have a good year. We've got a ton of other things that we're working on as well. So, and we'll talk about that. Just one thing I do want to go back and touch on, that jet boil, because ReadyWise is a great partner of ours, and they have really, really good meals. There's some good meals out there, but it's like a gourmet meal. They've got some of their freeze-dried packs that they have are incredible. And if you go to their website and you enter promo code, I think it's Ryan20, they'll give you 20% off anything that you order. And spring season's coming around, so if you're doing like a spring black bear and you want to have some good food, I would be remiss not to tell you guys, like, give ReadyWise a try. It's ReadyWise Outdoor, and they've got some great meals that are good tasting. Like that, it feels like they talk about creature comforts. Yeah. It feels like you're back at home, snacking. Having like a good meal.
Me and Quinn are kind of more so Quinn, but we're health nuts as well. And
trying to say I'm not?
I know you guys are too. I know you.
Well, we haven't shared a camp yet, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
But
you do tell me I look skinnier every time.
Oh, every time. Yeah. You've dropped 20 pounds?
17. I'm putting.
It's girl math.
Yeah, girl math. 20 pounds.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But especially Quinn, his macros are on point, and we were looking at the ReadyWise macros, and they're pretty. Especially, you can't be picky when you're out there, especially with the dry mill and whatnot. ReadyWise is pretty. Their macros are pretty dang good.
Well, if you look at the ingredients too, and if you're a clean eater, they actually use the extra virgin olive oil instead of the seed oils. Robert Kennedy Jr. is really
they've been ahead of the game for a long time. Like they're.
It's rare to see that though.
Yeah, and
it's nice.
If you're not successful. And you want to have, they also have their emergency food packs, which are really great as well. And the code that I just shared, and it'll be in the show notes, so you can go check that out. But if you want to look, we've got the guy in office that's run the country that I wanted in office, and people are feeling really pretty good about where things are going right now. But it doesn't mean that couldn't be a little bit of pain that still comes. And if there's not, and I pray that there's not, but if things are good, like that is the time to prepare, right? Like that's the time to put some, get the food storage built up so that, if, for example, the left-wing nut jobs do get control of the White House and the Senate and the House again. And I mean, I know Jackson's like, don't talk your politics on the podcast, Dad. I don't care anymore.
We're going to lose some followers.
No, we're probably going to gain some. But when things are good, like that is the best time to prepare. It's like, Grandpa Cook would always say, he's like, hey, you want to make sure that you get things done, and when the sun's out. We'd always be up at the cabin like, hey, get the emergency things done and that you need to do so that you can rest when the wind blows.
Yeah.
And I've loved that saying, and that's always stuck with me, that it's like, get your house in order, get things in order so that you can do that. But, I haven't talked a lot about these guys, but they have been like great partners, and I would just encourage you guys to go check, if nothing else, go check them out, see what you can find. But it's been, it's been fun. So I'm looking forward to taking some of their stuff up. Like I said, we've got a couple black bear hunts. We're going to try and get the whole crew together. We'll see if it's interesting. We're all kind of like in these, like Jackson's like at the beginning stage, right? Like he doesn't have a family right now. He has a family. He's got a wife, but he doesn't.
A wife and a dog.
Wife and a dog.
Yeah, that's a family, but young family.
I'm kind of at like I'm at like the, and I'm a grandpa, right? Like we've got one granddaughter, we've got another one that's going to be here in another couple months, and you guys, like your kids, like you guys are in the thick of it.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
right.
gosh.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why can't you guys just swing this, like make it happen? Whereas before, like I was the guy that people would always invite to go do stuff, and I'm like, we got baseball, we got soccer.
Yeah, speaking of that, like I got to get to my boys' basketball game right now.
Well, let's wrap it up then. Hey, guys, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching this thing, and thanks for supporting. As always, if you would, go give us a like, leave a comment, leave us a review, give us a follow, share it with somebody else who's a fellow hunter, whether they're new or old. We love all the support that you guys give us, and stay safe, and God bless. We're done.
Boom.
Good deal.